Quick question, between these two statements, which one do you find more convincing? Chances are it's the one at the bottom because it is using a much more professional font. This is a clear proof that having a great font and also having the right typography skills can make your products look much more professional. That is why in today's video we are going to be using these 7 typography techniques to turn a website that looks like this into this. So the first thing we are going to begin with is actually picking good fonts. So I'm gonna press F for frame and I'm gonna type here font choices. And you usually want to have a few. And what I want to do is I want to try basically with the branding of friendly yet stylish. And usually when you pick your brand, what you are trying to do is you want to give the branding value with the header, and for the body you want something basically readable, meaning for paragraph text you will have a sans serif problem. For header you really want to give the branding feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna write some fonts that I really like that are stylish but friendly, like Georgia. And if let's say I want to really push for it, maybe Carla. And if I want to really say, hey, what more can be better? Let's say HK Grotesque. And maybe, you know, maybe even Poppins is stylish but friendly. And I'm gonna show you all of these. Georgia is a serif font. Carla is much more quirky sans serif font, and Poppins is definitely not serif. And if I really want to pursue the stylish part, I might go Bodani, but I might also go maybe Crimson if I have it here, Crimson Pro. But the point is I am gonna generate a few fonts and then I'm going to try some. For this block, for this kind of project, I already tried all of these options and I know Georgia will work great with, let's say, the body font of Inria Sans. And Inria Sans is very readable font but also kind of friendly in that it has these tiny little weird curves and adds kind of friendliness. So here is what I'm going to do now. Now that I picked Georgia and Inria Sans, I am going to, for the header, I am gonna implement Georgia, and for the body I'm gonna implement Inria Sans. So far this kind of method doesn't look to change our text that much, but what we can do is we can really play with the size contrast between the header and the paragraph here. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna actually increase this to be maybe 36, and I'm gonna get this to be a bit more bottom here, and I want this to be around 40 maybe, and around here kind of we are good for the Georgia. And now we seem to be having a bit more contrast. I need a bit more height here, so I need to actually get the height of this to be around half. So let's see, 448, this should be around 224, and let's basically kick it down, 224 for half. And yeah, I think that's a lot better. So that is a lot better, and I want this to be maybe much more even light, yes, to add the contrast. Alright, so with the font weight and font size we added some contrast, but our project still looks like kind of what other blog posts or articles or websites look like. So in order for us to basically show that we really care about design, we need to create contrast with kind of techniques that we don't see used often. And one of them is actually playing with the stroke to fill option of the font. So here we go. So if you look at here, one thing I can do is I'm gonna press Command B to actually make Georgia bold. But another thing I'm gonna press is I'm gonna press Shift X. And now Georgia font is actually went to its stroke mode. So its fill width value is its fill value is removed. So what then I'm going to do is, another way to add great contrast is, I am gonna make the keyword here actually have what would you say, fill value, and I'm gonna remove the stroke value. I'm going to basically, how would you say this, I am going to I'm gonna, one moment guys, so I'm gonna make these white as well. Oh god, one moment. Okay, so everything is white. Select the minimalist here, add a white here as well. Yes, and for that word I want a bit of a pixel so that we separate, and I also want to underline it, and I want to remove this word. Alright, now our contrast is even bigger. We have added the stroke contrast, and we also underline the most important word here. One thing we can do that might add just a bit more playfulness, because remember our branding was friendly and stylish, and we got the stylish part down. A bit more friendliness would be using an inline imagery technique. So what I can do here is I can look for get emoji, and I can look for, let's say love face, or I'm gonna check here, and this one is actually looking pretty good, so I'm gonna copy that one, and I'm gonna go here, and you can actually paste emojis on Figma, so that, and that kind of makes it look better in the sense that now we look a bit more playful. And yeah, I think that is kind of the end for this one, and I want a bit more color maybe, so maybe a bit more, instead of this color, stylish color would be around here. I can pick, yeah, around here I can pick, and I want a bit of black now because it's not as readable. Yeah, I think that is a bit more readable now. Yeah, let's pick this color. Alright, so that is kind of the first three techniques we use to actually move our branding from non-existent to actually looking like something. Now let's go to the body copy. So now that we are looking at this body here, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to change all the subheaders here into Inline Sans, and I already did this. The second thing I'm going to do is I am going to implement the technique SLUB. Now the SLUB technique actually stands as an acronym for smaller, larger, uppercase, and brightness is a lot less. Meaning we can have a header that is smaller than a paragraph, but it still looks like a header. So let's see. These paragraphs are kind of the actual copy the users are going to read, and I'm going to select them, and I'm going to pick them to be roughly maybe 18 pixels, and I'm going to make them in Inline Sans as well. And the moment what we realize right now is the headers and the kind of the paragraphs have the same font family and the same font size, and usual approach would be to actually make the header a lot bigger and bolder. But what we can do instead is we can make the header, why am I clicking on these links? Okay, we can make this header into a smaller than the paragraph, we then make it bolder, we then make it uppercase, and we basically remove 20% in brightness, and voila, it still looks like a header, but it is actually smaller than paragraph, and it adds kind of a know-how to your designs, and it looks different because a lot less people actually use this to create contrast between paragraph and headers. Alright, so I'm going to implement this header by the copy Option Command C, and I'm gonna paste it here, Option Command V. For the table of contents, Option Command V. Yep, that looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to basically add some sort of spacing here for the paragraph between each body text here. So right now we should be around actually maybe 23, 24. And one way to test if your readability is very good is what you want to do is you want to basically pass the X in lower case form and see if you can pass it line by line, and that will let you know if you have enough distance between each of your lines for the body paragraph to be actually readable. So what we are going to do is I am going to press T, I'm going to create some text, and I'm going to press X. And I'm going to try to pass it between here. This is kind of a crude test, and it doesn't pass here. Do you see? With the L and the P it doesn't. So maybe we need a bit more, around 26 it will work. So I'm gonna basically copy Option Command C, Option Command V, here as well, this is a paragraph, here as well, this is a paragraph. Okay, so then what we really want to do is I'm gonna get this part here, and at this point our kind of paragraphs are structured, and now we have to add some sort of a grid layout to make sure that they are all aligned. Alright, so for the layout grid I'm gonna select the frame, press the plus button here, and I'm gonna press columns, 12 columns, and I want 48 pixels on the left side and the right side, and I want 24 pixels between each column. That means for my header here I'm gonna get to 48, and I'm just gonna zoom in to see that is pretty good. And for my paragraphs here I will need to get them to 48 as well, and that is looking pretty good. Now the next thing for spacing for us is actually the paragraph height between each paragraph here. So one thing we have done very well is that we have picked a great line height, so between each line we have a readable enough space to read easy. But now the spacing between each line is very similar to spacing between each paragraph, and that makes the readability a bit harder because the reader doesn't know if they're in a new paragraph. So, and to even emphasize this problem more, what I could do is around here paragraph and the line height looks similar, so we want to get it maybe around half of the line height. Usually works great. So if it's 26 here, it's 13, looks pretty good. Yeah, I think 13 would look pretty good, and I'm gonna get this to be 13. Now that is looking pretty good. I am gonna get the benefits here lower a bit, and what I'm gonna do is I am gonna make these a frame, and I'm gonna make this a frame too, and I misclicked again. I am gonna basically separate these by 24, maybe 32. I'm really eyeballing it, and 32 feels better, and I am gonna get a 32 pixel here, so maybe 8 more here, 26, there's 6 pixel difference here, that's 32, and voila. Alright, so now we are kind of spaced better. The next thing we are going to learn is the ideal length of, let's say, a text for each line. For desktop you really want to hit between 55 to 75, and for mobile you really want to hit 35 to 55, because we don't want to be using the all horizontal space, because that will just make our head turn. But we want for the viewer or reader is that they can follow the line with their eyes and they don't need to move their head too much. So for desktop that is roughly 75 characters, and one hack I know is we could actually go and follow the alphabet here. If you repeat the English alphabet 3 times, that kind of gets you to 76 characters. So if this works, so you basically paste this in and you find out, okay, so the kind of the paragraph which should end around here is where it should end. Yeah, so it should be around kind of here. Yeah, and that kind of takes these things away. I'm gonna basically make this lower. Okay, I'm not able to reach that one. So maybe here I'm gonna lower it. Okay, so now I am gonna make everything visible again. Yep. Okay, so this is kind of our text. Let me align with the height here for the body. Perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna get our everything here down so that we can do this a bit better. I'm gonna move myself here, and I'm gonna get the benefit to out of the way as well, maybe 1392. Voila. All right, now I think that looks a lot better. Maybe we don't need that much space, so I think around that part is good. So maybe 9. Yeah, I think that is looking pretty good now. Gonna align it here, and we are ready to learn our next technique. So now let's do exactly what we did in this section for the about and why to the benefits. So I'm gonna move the benefits text here, and I'm gonna copy the header style here, Option Command C, Option Command V, and then what we now see is a subheader benefit 1 and benefit 2. And what I will do is I will repeat our imagery technique here to add a bit more friendliness. So let's say the first benefit is kind of that our, let's say, minimalist great furniture design comes to you really fast. So I'm gonna look for time. So I'm gonna copy some stopwatches here, and I'm gonna paste those. So 3 of them is good, and for these you can actually increase the height a bit. 18 is good, and I'm gonna have the paragraph of it below, and I'm gonna take this basically like, because we have 12 columns, maybe I will let it take 6 columns here. And for the benefit to, I am gonna also basically make this not for time, but maybe happiness, meaning the customer support. So happy. So this might be it, meaning we will be happy with our customer support. And boom, boom, boom. And we are gonna make this 18. And I am going to get this paragraph here. I am gonna make these around here. Yep. And I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna stretch it out here. And perfect. And I'm gonna group, basically frame these. I'm gonna frame these two. And I'm gonna basically move the content here to here. Yep, that's better. And it is also a lot better. So maybe around here. So they need to be around here for alignment. And perfect. And let's top align them. And we want to make sure they are as far away to their header as this paragraph is, which is roughly 9 pixels. And we could even get these guys to be smaller. So 6 here. So 6 here. And both of these we can be top aligned, and we want to be around 9 here. Yeah. So around here works pretty good. Yeah. So I maybe want to increase the line height here maybe a bit. So maybe 16, and we want it to be around here. And for both of these I want it to be 32. Yeah. And now I'm gonna basically, so from this to here it's 9, we want this to be 16. So I'm gonna align, and 16, perfect. So I'm gonna frame these. This is our benefits, and I'm gonna get all of these guys to have the vertical distance between them to be 32. And that looks actually pretty good to me. Yes, that looks pretty good. Now, the reason we are kind of distancing them differently is because of the proximity rule in design, where the closer the distance between two kind of objects means that they are much more related. Obviously, when we are talking about, let's say, benefits, and it's, let's say, benefit 1 and benefit 2, the kind of the imagery we are using and the description we are using to explain the benefits should be closer together than they are to the header, because they are much more closely related. So if we look here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the alphabet on this top paragraph here, and I am going to replace the header with the first key of the first sentence here, which is F, and I'm going to move this paragraph here. And I'm gonna get this F here, and I'm gonna give it, let's say, a height of maybe 56 pixels, and I'm gonna basically put it around here, and I'm gonna get the initial a few words, and I'm gonna go here and I'm going to basically get them to be kind of around here, or maybe around here, but a lot less kind of. So I'm going to try to match this to the lowercase height here. It's almost there. Maybe 16 is matching. Yes, so kind of 16 is matching, and I am gonna get this to be around kind of here, and I want this to match at least 2 heights. So it is a bit still too much, so maybe 3 actually. So if we go here, so that's a lot, maybe. So I'm gonna get this, so let's make this to be around here. Oops, my bad. So let's get the furniture here, and I'm gonna move this up around here. Yes, and that kind of looks good. So I'm gonna get this to be around here, and I'm gonna get both of them to be moving a bit to the left, so they start at the red line there, and that looks pretty good. So that is, yep. And I'm gonna remove the first F here, so I'm gonna remove the here. Furniture refers to movable objects, and yeah, that does look a lot better. That does look a lot better. The next technique I'm going to use, I'm gonna add some basically imagery to the table of contents to make it more kind of look much more friendly, just like our header. So if you look here, what I'm going to do is, instead of using just numbers in your table of contents, we could just do, let's say, finger pointing, and or let's say next, or it could be fire. We could also do fire, but I think, or hand would work. Where is the symbol I'm looking for? Okay, next. I don't think I can find it here, so what I'm gonna do is I am just gonna copy it from here, guys. So I'm just gonna copy here, because I did the design beforehand here, a bit of it. So I'm just gonna copy and I'm gonna paste it here. Yes, and that looks pretty good. And I'm gonna add a basically a border to this whole thing, and I'm gonna make this table of contents a kind of a frame, and I'm gonna add a fill value, and I'm gonna make it match here, and I'm gonna match the text to be white, and what I want is to be styled around here, and maybe around here, yeah. And I want it to have an auto layout, so I need some spacing here, maybe 12 12. Yeah, I think that would look pretty good. And I'm gonna move it here, and I'm going to get it around here. Yeah. And I'm gonna move it down around here. Yeah. And that looks kind of pretty good. So the final technique we are going to do is to actually add some gradients to our code to actually make it look a lot more awesome. So let's go. So if I scroll here, what they say about us, and I'm gonna copy Option Command C for copying the text value here. Fantastic. And I want this to be Inline Sans, and I want this to be around 20. And I am even considering getting this to be bold. And one thing I am considering is maybe uppercase. And another thing is maybe bold italic. And we can add some linear gradient to this. So instead of it actually, let's say, being this color, and this one being kind of this color, and let it be 100, and instead of starting from here, I want left to right. Perfect. Yes. And I want this to be around like this. That looks better. And I want here to be around much more there. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe even here. Yes, so we have 3 colors that separate, and that looks pretty good. And I'm gonna get this to be line height around 24. And what I'm going to do then is I'm gonna add a line here, and I'm gonna match the color of this rectangle on the left side to this one. And I'm gonna get this to be 48. And I'm gonna get this to be 100 pixels maybe, just so we match, and boom, that does look a lot better. That definitely does look a lot better. Yes, compared to our elements. I'm gonna frame this quote, and I'm gonna basically carry this back here, and I'm gonna make this have 64 pixel difference, because it is. And I'm gonna, so the last thing I'm going to do after having finished the code is I'm going to improve the CTA button here. So I'm going to actually make this Inline Sans, or even better, I can make this Georgia. So I can say, hey, this is the only other one where I want to have this serif font here, maybe 28. And what I wanted to do is now the button should be basically Inline Sans 16 bold, and we wanna uppercase this. And I'm gonna remove the layout grids for a second because the color of them are too similar. And I am going to basically make it the same color but a bit darker. And yeah, I think that does look better. So that is our tutorial, guys, and if you love this video and you want to learn more about text style so you can scale your design systems, watch this video next.